Seth comes from not just an engineering background and a food background, but he also comes from a tech background. To add to that, which makes him kind of a ninja and really unique, he's also a litigator. He's a trained litigator that practiced at the absolute highest level. The company was in the middle of COVID, actually, when we contacted Seth. I actually didn't get a chance to meet Seth until COVID had sort of receded. So we've been working together for almost a year. We were faced with some pretty serious product issues, some litigation, and Seth was someone that right off the bat I asked to help organize the way that we were responding to those product issues, labeling issues, those sorts of things. And Seth really helped us from that perspective. Going forward, he was somebody that I could rely upon to just give a really messy operational problem at the company and then just kind of organize it in a way that's very sequential. And I think, again, his engineering background really lends itself well to that. Like, he's very process oriented, and a lot of lawyers really get kind of overwhelmed by that. And I think Seth, really actually relishes. He likes to get involved in those kinds of problems and do the problem solving. And the people that worked with him at our company really enjoyed and seeing that kind of passion he had for it. And it was very infectious. One area that we worked on together was labor and employment law. And it got to the point where, because there were especially during COVID, there were so many pulls on my time. We were running through having to do a pretty substantial pivot in our strategy, as well as like writing an entire, work plan during COVID, and then dealing with the civil rights movement that happened in 2020 and 2021. Seth really had to do more on the labor and employment side, and I spent some time with him, but frankly, I cut the cord pretty early on. I think he just relies really well on listening to the clients. He was a good advocate for the clients. Like, I wanted to pursue a particular strategy that was probably a little more strident. He was very good at saying, hey, actually, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I actually think this is the better approach, and here's why. And so he knows when to hold his ground, but at the same time, like, what he was doing was he was doing a better job of listening to the client and what the specific client needs were. And he was able to get us through some complicated labor and employment issues. And before Seth, we were working with a lot of and had a lot of supply chain issues. We were working with vendors internationally. We were working with developing a lot of products that required a real understanding of the ingredients, required an understanding of the regulatory environment that those ingredients were being put together, especially in the alcohol beverage industry. It's not something, it's highly regulated. It's not something that's super simple. And what really appealed to me about Seth was his engineering background. He doesn't talk about it a lot, but he is a trained engineer, and he's an engineer that loves practicing law, which I thought was pretty unique. And he was able to just very quickly tackle supply, chain contracts that really required an understanding of the processes for how our alcoholic beverage was made. And, it's almost like he relished making the complex part of his day-to-day and making it simple for our internal clients. Seth comes from not just an engineering background and a food background, but he also comes from a tech background. So when we were looking to bring in new tech platforms to work with the legal department, Seth was the one that was in charge of that. And it was something that, because none of us really had that kind of expertise, we could lean on him to sort of deal with the mundane technical issues and then bring it to bring to us really what the decision point was. And I found that really useful. And then to add to that, which makes him kind of a ninja and really unique, he's also a litigator. He's a trained litigator that practiced at the absolute highest level. So he worked at Quinn Emanuel, which is not, it's a name brand firm. It's not a mom and pop shop. He worked on some of the most important litigation that they worked on at Quinn Emanuel. And so because of that, it was really good to feel like the advice that you're getting was from someone that was at the top of their field in those areas, like litigation, like IP, like regulatory, et cetera. And that having that hybrid from doing this for 20 years is very unique. This is a true story. Somebody reached out to me about an open role. A friend of mine who is the general counsel and head of HR at a very big brand company. And she was looking for somebody that needed to fill in a couple of different holes and gaps on the team, because she just lost someone on her team that was responsible for regulatory, but she also needed support on the legal side. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I have the right person for you right off the top of my head. And Seth was definitely that person. And they're still working together to this day. And that was almost two years and change ago. And she's been very happy with him. Figure out somebody that, when you look at the jigsaw puzzle pieces in a legal department, could fit really well with me, but that can also not be a duplicate of me, but they could bring something to the table. So, you know, like his litigation background, his engineering background, his regulatory background, his expertise in dealing with real estate, because he worked at a real estate tech company. Those are things that I had some experience in, but it was really good to have somebody to dovetail that with. And he really he was able to do that very effectively while we worked together. Seth came in as a deputy general counsel because that was the title of the person we were looking for. By the end of our time together, he really became the deputy general counsel because I really leaned on him, not just in terms of you know the hard skills, but also in terms of the soft skills and helping me co-manage the team, which I really appreciated because you know all of us being working remotely. I really did rely upon him as well to be that extra touch point with our teammates to make sure that things were, you know, staying on track. They felt like they were being listened to, heard, all of that. And he was really good at that. The company where we were at before was doing a lot of innovation themselves. They're doing a lot of brand new front end innovation, which means they're not necessarily tied to an existing product or entirely new products. And it got to the point where Seth was a go-to working with that team and setting up a separate organization, you know, setting up a really clear checklist of what needed to happen. And like I said, it's unusual when you find someone that absolutely looks for those opportunities to work in complex systems and make them simple. You know, it was something that he championed internally at the company, and we definitely couldn't have done it without him. Let Seth cook. He will surprise the client with how well he can grasp complex problems. And he is very solutions oriented and very practical. And so he's not that kind of outside counsel like I have a lot of times where I feel like I've got to present a lot of guardrails. I also think if you went to him and said, I need to be really cost effective on this, he will stay true to that. He'll be upfront with you, very transparent. So I think, like I said, just let Seth cook. I think he is not only a very good lawyer and a good listener, but also he is a genuinely good person. He is definitely the kind of guy you want to go and have a beer with. And you know, our work is stressful enough that if you can find that kind of combination in somebody, you want to make sure you hang on to it.